Hey,
Morning, Mitch.
how's it going?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you. Good to see you. How's everybody doing today?
Real good.
So far, good.
Fantastic.
Hello, Mitch. Hello, everybody.
Good to see you. We are going to get started here. We've got a couple more people coming in and joining us, and we will maximize the next 60 minutes of your time. And you guys are going to learn a truckload. So let me ask ahead of time right now. Do you have one of these?
Yeah.
You got one of these?
Yep.
All you're going to need, because buckle up. It's going to be coming hot and fresh. So it's 12:31. Let's get started. And I will make myself the center of attention. And I will actually mute everybody else. Awesome. All right. Let's do this. Let's rock it out, and let's make sure you guys get everything you need. So welcome. Welcome to a Syndicate Talk Season 2. And this is episode, I just went back and actually counted today. It's episode 5 in our new season. We have an entire season 1 that happened in the spring. So if you want to add to your collective business education experience, don't hesitate to go back and have a really good look at that, because it's going to help blow your mind open on a number of things: marketing, hiring, sales, technology, etc. A Syndicate Talks is part of the body of work that my great organization Cyndicate brings to people in the form of free business education. When the pandemic started, internally we asked ourselves what we wanted to be able to do for the marketplace. What is the best way for us to be able to give back? And of course, my business partner is in marketing. I am in business coaching. Our other partners in technology. What is the best way for us to deliver? And that is to find some incredibly smart business owners and other business people, in fact, making up the body of Syndicate itself, and making sure that their expertise comes to you for free. If you follow along and play along, it's going to make you and your business better. So for today, we're going to be talking about telling your story, and what telling your story really means, and why it's germane to a Syndicate Talks, and to everybody that's listening right now. Or by the way, for everybody that's live with me inside our virtual studio audience, Zoom, wave, because the world's watching on YouTube right now. So make sure to wave. Maybe we'll pick up some more love because of it right now. We usually get a few thousand people to follow along live as we're out there. Hopefully that's what's going to happen today as well. But telling your story. Now, who here obviously has heard of paid advertising? I pay good money and I have a flyer show up at the door. I have YouTube and Google. It pops up on Facebook, whatever it is, right? Okay, paid advertising. Marketing, where stuff goes out, where people get to read and watch and think and engage and poke, and pretty pictures on Instagram, etc., or videos on YouTube. How many people have ever gone down a YouTube rabbit hole and it's hours later, and what you first started to watch, it is clearly not what you're watching, especially Michael's giving me a thumbs up, right? Happens all the time. That's content. That is marketing, okay? And then there's business development, sales. But all of those are predicated on something incredibly important, and that's the story we have to tell, the narrative. And so much of what we do has to do with the story of how we got to where we're at. Today, I'm going to give you a tool set and a framework. So in the next 45 minutes, if you're willing to use this and use this, you're going to learn an awful lot about being able to tell your story. In fact, if you fill in the blanks as you're working here, and so for everyone in the live studio audience and everybody that's going to be coming to us from YouTube as well, play along, fill it in, and it's going to absolutely make you smarter and make it more actionable in all those other areas. In fact, if you want to have a greater impact on your sales, learning to tell your story, how you got to where you're at and what that means for other people, is desperately important. If you learn to tell your story better, then your ability to leverage paid advertising, when you spend good money to attract attention, starts to increase. When you tell your story better, have a better idea of the story you want to tell, what you need to tell people, and why you tell it a certain way, that makes your marketing more effective. It makes your client retention a lot higher. So the investment you're putting in after today is to start to change the way you tell the story about your business. Now, storytelling in business is simple. We've got a word that is synonymous with storytelling in business. It's something that's been co-opted and taken over, well, really created by marketing and advertising companies. That's called brand. Now, here's your first nugget of information, okay? Sales is when I talk to you directly and tell you what I'm good at. Paid advertising is when my business does the talking, but still tells you what you should buy right now. Marketing tells the story when you are not in the room about what your business does well, and what it values, and why people should trust you. Brand is what happens when people come back and say, I understand you are good at this. Brand is the end result of doing a lot of heavy work for most businesses at the front end. Sales, eventually investing in the form of money for paid advertising, starting to develop a marketing program, etc., and ultimately getting brand, which means you're being recognized for value, for money, for service, or for relationship, or one would hope for all three of those. Who's ever bought a cup of coffee or a tea from Starbucks? Who's ever bought a cup of coffee or tea from Tim Hortons? And because we get Americans, and we get people from Russia, we get people from China, we get people from Japan, we get people from all over the place. Any of your local beverage, coffee, tea shops, etc., I want you to think about them for a moment. They have different personalities. They have different behaviors, different stories to tell. And each one of those stories gives you a different feeling. I myself frequent Starbucks quite a bit, even in the midst of a pandemic, because once upon a time I worked for them. I was a trainer, right? I understand the corporate culture, and I like the way I feel when I go to get coffee from there. You're greeted by name. It's part of the policy and training that they've got. I'm handed my personalized beverage. For the Starbucks that I go to quite regularly, I know the staff very, very well. They recognize me right away. That feels good. And not just in an egocentric way. In a world like we're experiencing right now, anything to do with human contact, recognition, and anything with emotional connection is good for us. It's good for our souls. It fuels us and feeds us. So I go to the place where I get treated really well. And what does that make me do? In turn, remember to do things like tip, come back, buy more product. Now that could be cunningly constructed from a sales mechanic side, or it could be just the fact that maybe when Starbucks hires, they make sure to hire people that, first of all, just genuinely like people, that like to socialize and get along. And then they're given a mandate and training to say that when people walk in the store, even in the midst of a pandemic, they don't walk in the store and wait longer than 30 seconds to get greeted. When you're taking their order, you get their name because everything gets personalized. Some people have very complex, very deliberate and specific menu items or requests when it comes to their beverage or food choice. And that could be because it's a personal choice, or it could be because of something health related. So we want to make very sure that we are meticulous about that and that everybody gets. And in this case, the call we're on right now, I got Bryce, I got Nash, and I got Richard, and I got Doug, and I got Stacy, and I got Michael. I got a few people on here with me. I've got Ben. I got Greg on here today. Every one of those people gets exactly what they asked for. They're not the only company in the world that does this really, really well. Of course not. But I think we can all express from a universal standard that is a very different feel going into a Starbucks than it is, let's say, going to McDonald's. McDonald's is incredibly good at what they do. And what we recognize about their brand, about the story they tell, is same. Now we get the same thing at Starbucks. But McDonald's has made sure that you get the same. Now, maybe the customer service isn't as good as Starbucks for a moment. But if you get a Big Mac here, and if you get a Big Mac somewhere in the United States, and if you get a Big Mac in the UK, and if you get a Big Mac in China, and if you get a Big Mac in Australia, what do you get? You get a Big Mac. And it's the same. It tastes the same. It has the same ingredients. It has the same look. It comes in the same packaging. Because they understand the brand, the story, the narrative that they're trying to portray, that they're sharing with the marketplace. So people know what to expect. They know what they're getting out of the relationship. Ultimately, when we tell the story about business, and get ready because you're going to start writing right away about yours. So once again, these things are going to be really important. When we tell the story, it pays attention to pay attention to the most important element of you telling the story about your business. So I'm going to work backwards to go forwards and then get you guys to fill in. The most important person in your business is who? Think about it for a moment. right? The most important person in your business? No. If I'm talking to Doug or I'm talking to Bryce, the most important person in business is me or Stacy or Michael. They are our customers and clients. They are our potential audience. The most critical person in our business is us. But the most important person in our business relationship are our customers and our clients. So when we look to tell story about our business, develop brand, flesh out our marketing, create advertising that's compelling, talk about sales in a way that makes sense to people, the first place is always the last place we think of when we go to sell something. It has to do with relationship. And how do relationships work? It's investment in other people. So for us, the most important person or the most important character in the story, telling the story of our business, is our clients or customers. So here's all the elements that you have to pay attention to when you're going to develop the story and brand of your business. First of all, the character. The main character in the story is your customer. So we've got who's the main character in the story of our business? It's our customer. And that main character has a series of problems and challenges. Can you articulate? Can you answer very succinctly in as few words as possible or sentences what their biggest and most ongoing or chronic problems and challenges that they have are? And that could be globally, but of course, I'd want you to specify those problems and challenges should have to be with what you provide. So if we're looking at building the story, our main character in the story of our business is our customer. And like all good stories, because they wouldn't be good stories, we wouldn't watch Star Wars, we wouldn't watch Apocalypse Now, we wouldn't watch any of the Disney movies, we wouldn't watch the Avengers, we wouldn't watch anything on Masterpiece Theater for one important condition when it comes to the main character. And the main character in the story of our business is our customer, and that is they've got a problem or a challenge to overcome. When we understand what their problems and their challenges are to overcome in conjunction with our business, then we can do what? We can solve their problem. So every main character has to have a problem or a challenge. We have to have a solution to that problem and challenge. So what is that solution? How do we fix it? What is the process, the tool, the product, the service that we provide that fixes that problem? So step one, identify who the main character in your story is for your business, and it's your customer. Don't just write, it's my customer. What type of customer? What style of customer? What revenue of customer? Very likely you have many different types of customers in you. So you might need to do a storytelling, a storyboard for your business multiple times to understand enough about each of the unique types of customers that come into your business. Next, every customer might have some universal problems or challenges. And in fact, for me, I'm a business coach. So I work with business owners day in and day out, and help with operations and sales and hiring and marketing, cash flow and financial and building strategic plans, et cetera, et cetera. And I work with small to medium businesses. So people that have a handful of employees, maybe have no employees, maybe have as many as 40 or 50 or 60 employees. Not that I don't work with bigger businesses, but that's the marketplace I like. And I know the types of the different ones. So there can be different characters inside of the story of my business. And some of those characters have the same problems. And in fact, for my business, I can say universally, people are going to have some problems with cash flow and finance. People are going to have problems hiring and retaining staff. People are going to have problems with, again, selling or marketing effectively for their business, right? Doesn't matter whether they're big or little, they're going to have some of these problems. Those become universal. But then from there, we get problems that are specific. So I don't know, construction people, for example. Construction people very rarely have an awful lot of time. They're either really, really busy season, or it's dead quiet and they're going, what am I going to do? So that's a unique problem to have. Accountants would be a different business with a different problem to have. They're going to have really, really busy seasons and really, really quiet seasons, but they need to talk to their audience in a very different way. So one of the problems they've got is making sure that people understand the importance of how bookkeeping and accounting works, how financial planning and financial services work. In the case of construction, how in the midst of a pandemic where we've spent more money combined in North America on home improvement projects than any period in time, right? And so people are smiling and smirking and nodding, going, yeah, I've done a few things. We also want to be able to educate people in construction, whether or not those people should be doing it themselves, right? Should Mitch build a deck? Maybe. Should Mitch do his own plumbing? No, Mitch should not do his own plumbing. It's not going to end well. It's not going to go well. So Mitch needs to know that there's a plumber nearby that works cost effective, pandemic, right? But is also going to be able to do it timely. It's going to do it safely, and it's going to do it in light of there being a worldwide pandemic. And so it's going to satisfy certain safety precautions to protect me and my family and to protect themselves. So we've got our main character in the story, and we've got problems that they've got, universal and specific. From there, telling the story about the problems that they have, we want to have a solution. So every problem we list for the main character in our story, we want to have a solution for that. Do we have an answer to fix that problem? This is problem solving. It's one of the conditions that we always have to satisfy when we sell. But it's part of what makes the narrative of our story make best sense for our business. Because if we can say, here's the answer to the problem, then we're ahead of the game, because maybe we're even ahead of our competitors. Now, this is where we really talk about storytelling for our business. We get into the meat of it right now. So make sure that, obviously, and for some of you, if you're not writing yet, you need to be right now, because I'm hoping you're using this actionably to plan for yourself. Who is my customer? What problems do they have? What solutions do I provide? And here's where you think about you for the first time. The main character of your story, your business's story, may be your clients and customers, but they need something. So who here has seen, and again, on YouTube, I can't tell if you're going to put your hands up in the air, so drop a comment if you wish. Who here has seen the very first Star Wars movie? No, not Phantom Menace. A New Hope. Came out 1977, 1978, right? Who here has seen A New Hope, right? What happens? I mean, who's the main character? Luke Skywalker, right? And he's on this dirt ball planet, and he is unfulfilled and unhappy in life. Sounds like he's got some problems, right? And he wants to get away, and he wants to go to the Naval Academy, and he wants to become a star pilot and all these other things, but he is stuck. And then he comes across these two droids that his uncle buys. And turns out these two droids have a really interesting story to tell, and they become part of the main characters. And these problems include having to get this message all the way back to Princess Leia and to help the rebellion against the Empire. Well, now this is sparking the fireworks inside the head of a young man that's going, I'm stuck in this backwards plan. I got to be able to help them. So who appears on the horizon? A mentor, a guide. This is where, as a business owner, when we tell the story of our business, this is where we come into the story for the first time, because we are the mentor. We're the guide. We're the person that helps to facilitate the main character through the problems and challenges that they have. As the main character, and for main characters and mentors in particular, to work and to be able to fix the problems for our main characters, our customers, we have to have just two criteria. So you need to know and have an answer for these two things, because it's the only reason your customers are ever going to trust you telling the story of your business. Empathy and authority. Empathy. Do people genuinely believe that I care at all about what they do and what they're going through? Can they feel it? Can they sense it? Can they articulate it? What does it mean for me to be empathic? Do I understand the problems they're going through? Have I experienced them? Empathy is being able to relate to people and their issues, and people can genuinely sense when other people have empathy, or at least care and consideration for their problems or their challenges. The second criteria for mentors or guides to be able to fix people's problems is authority. Can people trust that you have the expertise, knowledge, training, or experience to be able to fix the problems they have? When we look at our business, knowing who our customer is at the end of the day is desperately important, because that means that we can start to narrow down. We can focus in sales and paid advertising and marketing. You have to know what that audience is. You must. It is absolute. And the quicker you can identify them, then you take it to the next layer. What problems do they have? When you can speak to people in the language of the problems and challenges they have, and the solutions that you can provide to fix that, then you're starting to build bridges with people. You're starting to get to people in a place where they are coming from, not where you're coming from. From there, if they're going to need a guide and a mentor, in other words, they want the product or service that you're offering, then you need to be a guide for them. And to be a good guide, to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, old Ben Kenobi, wandering, crazy old coot wandering on the desert to help Luke Skywalker, there has to be empathy and authority. Well, Ben's been around Luke's life his entire life. In fact, he keeps seeing the strange old wanderer all the time and kind of knows him at arm's length. And the guy seems to take an interest in him. That's cool. And then when he starts to talk to Ben Kenobi and finds out that he's Obi-Wan Kenobi, retired Jedi Knight and former general, well, heck, you should have no problem being able to help me get these droids back to their rightful owner. You should have no problem at all. None whatsoever. Because you're a Jedi Knight and a general. You fought in a bunch of wars. Cool. Obviously, you can fix the problem because I'm just some backwards kid from some nobody planet. So for us as guides, now, for the first time as guides, with empathy and with authority, can we articulate why we're experts at what we do? And can we tell people what they can expect out of us, how we're going to care for them when we do what we're going to do for them in their business? That's where the problem solving really comes in. Remember that list of problems and challenges that they have and a solution that we've got? We need to take our empathy and our authority now at us as the guides, as the Ben Kenobi to the Luke Skywalker, if you will. And yes, I will be probably leveraging Star Wars references throughout my entire talk. You're going to have to live with it. Sorry to say. When we take those problems and challenges, we want to give them the outline, the way it's going to fix their problem. It's one thing to say, I have a tool or a process that's going to fix it. It's another way to tell people what to expect out of the experience. In other words, how is this going to fix it? What is it going to do? How long is it going to take? In what way is it going to change things or move things around? After we give them, so we have the customer and the character, we have the problems they have and a list of things that we can do to fix them. We have us as guides and mentors, satisfied empathy and authority. People can trust that we know how to do what we're doing, and people know that we have genuine interest in fixing their problems. Then we've got our action steps. Here's what we're going to do to fix it. I don't care if you're in, I mean, just looking at again, our little studio audience we've got today. I've got an engineer, I've got a book company, I've got Holistic and Health, I've got a programmer, I've got another marketing company, I've got IP and chemicals, I've got financial services on this call right now, and of course I have a business coach, right? So every one of us has a different service or product to offer and different clients and customers and challenges, but we can create a simple action step to say, here's what it is. Whether it's a bookstore, cool. Well, you're gonna love books, right? And I'm deliberately picking on my buddy Doug right now for a moment, right? Because I know one of the businesses that he owns is a bookstore, right? So what does that do? How is it? We all need education, we all need insight, we all need happiness, we all need laughter, we all need thought-provoking. We're all spending more and more time being cooped up inside. We're spending more and more time at home. We need to be looking to fill ourselves more and more. Education for our children is becoming less and less frequent simply because we're in the midst of a pandemic and it's harder to send them to school. And even when they're at home, the level of the education, and not because the teachers are not good at their job, but the level of education is still in question because it comes so few and far between. It comes so fractured, right? So for us, our job and our ability, our task is to take the list of things that we do to solve problems and explain to people how. What is the way it's going to work? Why does this work? What's the proof in the past? What is going to be the actionable steps and the action items that we're going to take? So what should they expect from the experience of working with us to fix their problems, overcome their challenges? Now, it can be, I bring joy to people. It can be I build happiness. It can be I solve money problems. It can be any number of things. But for us, we need to be able to articulate the steps and the mechanics of the way they're going to do it. Because people, to follow along with good stories and to follow along with the story of your business, need to know what to expect. I know who my best customers are, my average customers are. I know what problems they're going to have. I can give people a list of things all day long. But if I don't tell them what to expect from the experience and the way they should expect to be treated and their problems are going to be solved, people are always innately afraid of change. And the quicker we dispel change, we are doing what? Displaying empathy. We're telling them we understand. And when we can give them guided steps that seem reasonable and make sense, and to show them how what we do solves their problem, that is also pointing to the authority piece, meaning that we have the expertise, information, education, knowledge, or tools to be able to give, fix, solve, reorganize, whatever it is they're looking for. For a story to be incredibly effective, we have to be able to tell people what the expectation should be, where they're going to start, and where they're going to end when they have an opportunity to work with us, and how we're going to help them. Now, for stories to be very, very robust, for stories about business, building brand, to work effectively, then we have to give people actions that they're going to take themselves. We have to tell people about consequences. So if you have listened to what I've said about my business up until now, and you have these problems, and here's some ways that we can solve them, and you should trust me for these reasons, and here's what I understand you expected of the experience, here's what's going to happen next. Consequences. In every good story, there's always consequences for success and failure. If you choose, remember, narrative and story for your primary customer or client. If you choose to do nothing, here will be the outcome. Very likely, no change, no impact, no removing of the fear and pain and uncertainty that they're living through. So in good stories, we have to outline the consequences for things happening. And if our customers or clients that are our primary character in our story choose not to take an action, choose to just sit on their hands and do nothing, the consequence is no change. The consequence is not getting what they want, what they need. If they choose to follow the path, the solution you've laid out in the story of your business, what does that change look like? Again, we've talked about expectation for the experience. You're going to start here, and when you're done, you're going to look like this. You're going to feel like this. Your life is going to be set up like this. Your business is going to run this way. The service product offering, the plan of action you have to fix their problems. What is going to be that change? They're going to start here, and the consequence is going to be change. And that change, what is that change going to look like for them? We need to be able to paint the picture in the story for the difference between choosing to take action and choosing to not take action. It's something all great characters in every great story experience. There's a moment where they decide to make a choice, and it might be doing something that they have no idea what the outcome is. But we're going to change that in our story because we can tell them that if they follow along with the problem solving we have as their guide, as their mentor, they're going to experience change, and that change is going to move them from where they're stuck to where they're not. And then we get the best part about every good story in life, transformation. If we can articulate what our customer, what our primary character in the story of our business is going to change from this to that, then we have simple language to show differences between where people were before they experienced us and after. Now, make no mistake, some businesses are easier to tell a story than others, and that's okay. Some business, it seems trite or simplistic to do this. Others, it has to do with application. Well, my business doesn't have the kind of business where I should do this. It doesn't. Don't you deal with people on a daily or weekly, monthly basis? Don't those people pay you hard-earned money for a product or service that you offer? Don't they expect good value for the money? If you can answer all of those questions in the way that I think you will, then it means that thinking about the story of your business in a different way is going to give other people, the main character in your business, your customer, a very different experience. So we want to think about the main character and the customer, and there may be many main characters in this story. The second item we want to always address in writing the story of our business is what kind of problems and challenges do they have? What solutions do we have for those? The third criteria for us to consider in telling the story of our business, and don't worry, I'm going to tie all this together for you in a moment, is a guide. Every main character has problems, And they need a guide that has empathy and authority, that understands what they're going through and has the expertise to be able to fix that. From there, we have to outline in plain language the expectation for the experience of how those problems are going to be fixed. After that, we need to tell them what the consequences are for them choosing to take action or choosing to remain where they are. If you remain where you are, you're going to stay stuck in the spot you're at. But if you choose to take the step, there can be change. And what happens with change? Transformation. And as the last part of being able to articulate the story of our business, and no, we're not done here yet, so bear with me, is being able to itemize in as few words as possible what transformation looks like. You are changing from this to that. If you can fill in this vital information, you've created a narrative, a story for your business. And that story for your business can now be used in its entirety or in its individual pieces, talking about the main character, the problems that they have, what and why people trust you to do your job. Remember, guides have empathy and authority. The way you solve problems, what change or remaining unchanged can, from consequence-wise, have and hold over these people, their lives and their businesses, and being able to transform from where they're at now to what they should be turning into. Every one of these vital pieces of information in the story of your business can now be used in just your regular sales, in your paid advertising, in your marketing, in your customer relations. Every essential element in being able to tell a story can be used standalone to say things like, here is my main character, my customer, and these people look like this, experience this, and go through this in business and their lives on a day-to-day basis. That's sharing information and builds familiarity. These clients and customers, my main characters in the story of my business, tend to have these problems an awful lot. And here's some solutions they should consider. Okay. These main characters having these problems always need a guide. And as a guide, here's what you can expect from me. Here's what I understand, empathy, about the struggle and the problems and challenges that you're going through. And authority, here's what I'm an expert at so that I can give you what you need or what you want. From there, I can stand alone, just the information about the process to solve their problems. But Mitch, why would I tell them how I'm going to fix all their problems? I need them to pay me for it. I'm going to switch from Star Wars to a person that I admire quite a bit in a pendant industry marketing, and that's Gary Vee for a moment. And Gary, bless his heart, creates an awful lot of marketing content and does a wonderful job of talking about brand and story in his business. And as he will not so eloquently put, and I won't use the same colorful language he does for that, he says, I turn out so much stuff and I give away 99% of the stuff I do on a regular basis, knowing that most people are either too lazy or won't bother to follow along and do it themselves. And that's no different for everything in life. Yeah, I can watch the YouTube video on how to install my taps, because the way new taps come now, they make it really easy to install them. I'm not touching running water in my house. I'm not making a mistake with plumbing. I'm happy to pay, even though it's an extra expense in the midst of a challenged economy, for somebody else to come in, which means they get to eat for a day. They get to do their job they're well paid for. And I don't go through the aggravation of it. In fact, the person I had put new taps in my house, and this was in June. I believe I calculated it would have taken me 2 hours to install one set of taps. I had 3 sets to do. He was in my house for 2 hours. Does Mitch spend an entire day replacing his taps, or does he pay somebody for 2 hours of their time to do a great job? Can I look it up on YouTube? Can I get the handyman book? Can I read the instruction? Because in fact, in the taps, it all came with the instructions how to do it. And one of the sets of taps had a link to a video that I could have watched on YouTube on how to install those taps. Still paid somebody to do it. They literally told me how to fix it, and Barbie Lee, right on. I could fix it myself, or I am happy to get somebody. What? Remember, you are the guide inside of your story that has the empathy and authority. In other words, they know more than me on how to fix the problem. From there, we can take the transformation, the change that people experience. If you don't change, you're still going to be stuck here. If you do choose to make a change, here's what's going to happen. When you follow the path of change, when you follow the course, the system, the solution that I've outlined for you for whatever your problem is in life, you're going to transform from this to that. Every one of those categories in telling the story of your business, your main character, clients and customers, the challenges they have, their problems, global, universal, and individual are unique. Every one of those has a solution that you provide. Those solutions are based on your authority, your ability to fix those problems, and empathy, your understanding of what they're going through. Then give people a solution, but tell them what's at stake. The consequence being, if they choose not to follow along, they will never change. But if they do follow along, they will experience a transformation. And now you can tell them they're going to move from this to that. They're going to change from here to here. They're going to become better, smarter, faster, richer, stronger, whatever the solution is that you've outlined earlier, and what it's going to mean for them in their business. Now, each one of those segments, if you've been writing along, gives you key information in telling the story and delivering where? Again, in sales, in paid advertising, and in marketing. If you just took the information in the main character, your customers or clients, whether you've written this down a dozen times for a dozen different clients or customers, or whether you've written it down one time and it's more of a global picture. If you share that information inside of a sales meeting, inside of your paid advertising, or inside of your marketing, then you begin to educate an audience that likely knows nothing about you, about the kinds of clients and customers that you work with on a regular basis. It's important to know, because every one of us will always compare whether we're that person. Even if I don't want what Doug or Stacy or Michael or Bryce have to offer, I'll still be curious enough to look at it and say, am I one of those people? Hey, I am. Cool. Okay. Yeah. I matched. Good. I'm not going to buy what they've got, but you know what? I match what they're looking for. Nice. Good for me. And then I can take those problems and challenges they have, and I can use that when I talk to people about sales, when I advertise my business, when I put information out for marketing. Here's the most common problems and challenges that people have. Hey, I'm never going to buy, but you know what? Yeah, I'm going through some of that. I'm dealing with some of that sometimes. Man, I could use a little bit of that. Hey, they even told me a couple of ways to fix it. Cool, that's awesome. And then I could take the part where I talk about myself as a guide. Empathy and authority. Here's what you can expect out of the way I'm going to treat you. Here's what you can expect out of what I know about my job. Oh, well, you know what? Hey, I matched the customer. Yeah, I got some of the same problems they know. Cool. I think I got a better sense of who this person is. I got a better sense who Bryce and Doug and Stacy and Michael are. I can trust them. I'm still not going to buy what they've got. But you know what? Hey, it sounds like they know what their job is. Cool. If I ever need it, I'm going to get there. And then I can take the itemized or the articulated solution, how they're going to fix my stuff. And I read that, or I watch it as a provider of material, as a purveyor of marketing. As an aside for a moment, shoot a video and talk about this. Type it. Use your thumbs on the device. Make pretty pictures. Write an article. Do something or anything for your business to help it advertise or sell or market. But each one of these pieces of information becomes vital, because if you follow along, if you've been writing notes while you're doing this, you're already doing your planning to be able to use any of this information in any way you choose to share with other people about what you do successfully. Now, when I take that articulated plan, tell people how to fix their own problems. Tell them where they start and where they end, because they're not going to do it. What you're doing is you're educating them enough to know that very likely they understand more about what to expect now, but they also know that they don't know how to do it. You can tell them, just like the plans and the plumbing and the taps that I bought, but I'm still not going to do it, no matter how simple it was. And in fact, if I can use the tap analogy again, the comparison for a moment, I needed a tiny wrench, and I needed to be able to get access under the cupboard, and I needed to be able to turn the water off. I can figure all that out myself. And then I need to use that tiny wrench to turn the little brass hex nut. And right now I've got Greg Weir on here right now, and he's run a long time plumbing and HVAC company. So he's going to be laughing a little bit here. I could very well have just twisted that little nut until it came loose from the old taps. And then there was two bigger nuts underneath at the bottom of those taps. Could have done those. See what I'm doing? I'm talking through the problem solving. And then I pick those taps off. And then I put the other taps on top. And then I take those little hoses, making sure that the hot goes to the hot and the cold goes to the cold. And use that same tiny little wrench and screw those things on. And the new taps had their own shutoff valves too. So I could have gone and turned the water back on for the house and left those shutoff valves off to make sure there were no leaks. And then I could have turned them on and I could try the taps. And if they're good, go to put the last little nuts and washers on the bottom of the tap to hold it to the sink. That's how simple it is. I know what the process is. There was no way I was going to do it. I know how to do it. There's no way I was going to do it. Take the information on how you're going to solve their problem and give it to people. Because if you do that backed up with what makes you an expert, people are going to trust the information you provide. And then tell them what's at stake if they choose to make changes or transform. Well, yeah, actually, I would have called you. You're right, Greg. I probably would have called you anyway. Tell them what's at stake if they choose not to transform themselves. But the information to tell the story builds the ability for you to tell the story about you and your business in a different way. And the moment you can change the way you share the story on how your business has the opportunity to fix their problems or transform their lives, you start to build connection. And when we build connection, we build trust. And when we build trust, we increase the likelihood of business. If you start to take the information we're talking about here today and just deploy it in individual pieces. Now, let me tell you what I would do with what's here today. In fact, because it's the thing that I do quite regularly when it comes to my own marketing, never mind the marketing partners I have that handle stuff for me. I would write all of this out and then I'd shoot a video, much like I'm doing today. And I would talk about all of this out loud, just like I'm doing right now. And I would make sure to talk to people about doing things like, because this is part of what Mitch does for a living. Hey, do you want to learn how to tell the story of your business? If you want to learn to tell a story about your business, here's the parts that go into it. Here's the problems that you're going to have. And here's what you should expect to learn. And here's the step-by-step process. And if you choose to follow along and take these individual pieces and use them, quote unquote, use them. I haven't told you how to use them yet, but just use them in telling the story of your business is very likely going to get better. And then if I tell you that I've been doing this for years and years and years and worked with lots and lots of different businesses, what have I done? I mean, I'm increasing the likelihood you're going to trust my authority. And if I seem like I know what I'm doing and you get the sense that I may be able to help you, what happens if you watch this video for 45 minutes until now and you've heard this? The likelihood for you to trust and follow along with the process increases. But right now, if I say, hey, this is the way to do it. And by the way, I'm still going to tell you some specific mechanics on what to do next. But if you're stuck, don't hesitate to talk to me. Just drop a line, message me. You can, in fact, drop a message right on YouTube if you're watching live, or you can find me at mitchkamich.com. Message me and I'll be happy to give you some advice and some pointers, suggestions, and I can help you out. What did I just do? I just changed the context of the way I could sell. So for 45 minutes, I've had the audience listening along while I tell you how to do something mechanically. Now the decision is whether or not you're going to do it, because remember, there's transformation at stake, there's change. So if you want to change what's going on with your business, take the client or customer that you have, your primary audience, your primary character inside the story that is your business, and go to Facebook, go to YouTube, go to LinkedIn, and talk about what makes great customers for you. What makes them your customers? Why are they your customers? What articulates them? What creates a customer for you? And then next, take the information and the problems and the challenges they have and go back on Facebook or YouTube with video or LinkedIn and use your thumbs or type on a keyboard and talk about the kinds of problems your average customer, the main character in your story, has regularly. Kinds of problems and challenges they experience all the time, and some simple solutions that they could follow along. Then take the information from the segment, which talks about you as the guide, empathy and authority, and say, you know what, when I work with people, here's what people should expect, and here's why I'm good at my job. And once again, talk about it on Facebook, shoot a video on YouTube, talk about it on LinkedIn. Heck, you could shoot one video and share it to all three. And then take the solution, the action steps they should take, the action steps they should expect for you to fix their problem. And again, type with your thumbs, type on the keyboard, shoot a video, put it on Facebook, put it on YouTube, put it on LinkedIn. And then talk about them having to choose to make change. If they choose not to make change, here's the consequence. They're going to stay stuck exactly where they are. But if they choose to change, they have the opportunity to transform. Get rid of pain, suffering, agony, problems, challenges, and do something more productive, better for them, better for their family, better for their job, better for their business, better for their employees, whatever it is that you're doing. What does that transformation look like? And once again, type it out, use your thumbs, shoot a video, put it on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. Do this regularly. If you do it regularly, people are learning about you and what your business stands for. Now, how many people have seen a paid ad on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook of any kind? Okay. What's the main criteria for any of those ads? And those ads are fine. There's nothing wrong with those ads. Every one of those ads is, you need this, buy it now, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad approach necessarily, because if it happens to show up in front of the person that needs that specifically right now, then maybe they're going to click the button and maybe they're going to buy it. And so you're playing a numbers game. If I get enough people to look at it, and if I'm good enough with how I do that, then I can get people to click the button to buy right now. So I don't have to do anything else. Cool. But what if I told you that by telling the story of yourself and your business has no cost except your time? You're never going to need to spend money, but you can get customers to come to you and use you anyway, simply because you start to tell the story of the main character, your customer, the problems that they have, the solutions you've got, why they should trust you, what steps and actions they're going to take, and what transformation looks like. And if you do it regularly enough, people will make a decision and come and find you. And then when you deploy that information, the same information, typing with your thumbs, typing on a keyboard, shooting a video, grab this bad boy, shoot a video. What is up? Let's do this. And I'm going to talk about these different parts of telling the story of my business. They get to know you faster and they make decisions on whether or not you are valuable to them, and they choose to buy. If you would like to have no cost marketing, learn to tell the story of your business differently. Follow the main criteria that we've talked about and share that information regularly. In fact, it's 6 segments of information. Share one of those segments a day, every week. I'm going to talk about my customer, the main character. I'm going to talk about some of the problems they have. I'm going to talk about why people should trust me. I'm going to give people an action item plan. I'm going to tell them what's going to happen when they don't make a change. And if they do make a change, what are they going to transform into? 6 days a week. And then next week, what am I going to do? I'm going to find a little different way to say it. And I'm going to talk about the main character of the story, the problems that they've got, why they should trust us, the way we're going to solve problems, what happens if they choose not to change, what happens if they change and what they transform into. And then the next week, I'm going to spend 6 days in a row doing the same thing. What do people get? A sense of your business, understand what it is, how you solve problems, the kind of pain points that maybe they're going through. After you've done that enough times, people will start to show up. Now, I don't want you to spend forever doing this. Of course not. There's only a finite number of times you can tell the story of your business and talk about all the different customers and the different problems they have. But what you have to do is start to articulate the way we look at the primary reason for our business. It's not because we're good at something or we have something. It's because we have people that are ultimately going to spend money to take what we've got. Otherwise, we've got a hobby. And hobbies are good. You can talk about hobbies all the time. In fact, I tell you, talk about hobbies the same way I'm telling you to tell the story about your business right now. But if what you're doing is business, you can create business by changing the way you tell the story about your business. And you can tell all of it from one end to the other, or you can tell it in different pieces, like chapters in a book. And your audience will start to follow along because they understand what to expect from you. And then when you choose to deploy the almighty dollar, you're building the material, the content, the paid advertising stuff you need because you're already doing it for your business. But you're going to spend the money on telling people who they are, the problems they've got, why they should trust you, how you're going to solve their problems. If they don't change, they're going to stay stuck. And if they do change, they're going to have the opportunity to transform into something else. And now you're deploying your money and you're talking to your customers and clients. And more importantly, your competitors' customers and clients, very likely in a way that they aren't used to, or they very rarely get spoken to like. And if you have to pick experience-wise, knowing that you're going to get the same product no matter where you go in the world, or that you're going to get treated like family when you walk in the door, which place are you going to spend more money at? And that's what the power of being able to tell the story in our business does. It takes longer to do it, but it's going to give you better results. So to summarize, who's the main customer in your business? Sorry, who's the main character in your business? It's your customer. What problems and challenges do they have? Articulate it, write it down, organize it. Every one of those problems, do you have a solution for it? You are a guide. As a guide, why should they trust you? Empathy, what makes them think that you care about their problems? Authority, what makes you an expert to fix it? Give them the course of action. Tell them what to expect so they know what change is going to look like. Point out in stark terms, even very blunt terms, if they choose not to do it, they're going to get stuck. And otherwise, if they choose to follow along, they're going to change and they're going to transform, and they're going to turn from where they're at right now to what's going to be better for them in the future. Talk about that, tell that, and find innovative ways to share that information. Now, Mitch, tell me the ways to share that innovation. Well, we've done any number of marketing discussions inside Syndicate Talks too, so I guess you're going to have to go find the marketing videos to tell you how to deploy content and display and put together a marketing plan. There's my plug. Go watch other Syndicate Talks and watch for the marketing planning and marketing implementation, Facebook, YouTube, etc. It's all out there. We do some really cool stuff. But for today, understand who the main character of your story is and what makes them unique. Know what their problems and challenges are and the solutions that you've got. Make sure to understand what it is and why people are going to trust you to fix their problems. Tell people how you're going to fix their problems. Then tell those same people if they choose not to fix their problems, they're going to stay stuck. So the consequence of not making a change is they're going to stay where they're at. Otherwise, if they choose to follow along, it's going to lead to transformation and likely something better. If you do that regularly and share that information, and again, take all that information and write a blog post article and put it on your website. Take it, put it on LinkedIn. Shoot a video. I promise you, it probably won't take more than 10 minutes. And talk about all of this out loud. Take each one of these individual pieces and write something short. Once again, use your thumbs and share it with people. Then start to leverage money behind it instead of at the front end to hopefully get somebody to click the button because they think they need what you've got. And you will transform your business. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tell Your Story, a Syndicate Talks Season 2. For those that are live on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. For my live studio audience, thank you for coming in and adding experientially. Even though everybody's on mute, some people have got their cameras on, some don't. I get to watch some reactions and stuff like that, some chatter going on in the chat. I very much appreciate the feedback. Barbie Lee, love it. Thank you. You have done something extraordinary for me today. You've given me somebody to talk to about something that's incredibly important. But more importantly, you've done something important for yourself. Take these simple steps, action list items. Understand who your main character is, what their problems are, why people should trust you, how you're going to fix their problems, and the consequences of choosing to change or not change in their business. From there, share that information regularly. And when you've got money, back up what you're doing to change the way you're telling stories about your business and put the money into that instead. You will attract attention better, faster. And all you have to do is watch some of the biggest companies on the planet and realize they have a personality. And the moment you can identify their personality, you know that they've done their work when it comes to telling their story. Tell your story the right way, and your business will improve. On behalf of myself and the leadership team, on behalf of the Syndicate family as well, our tribe members, etc., spread across the globe. Yeah, we've got some people in different places. And myself, thank you for joining us today. Watch for our next Syndicate Talks coming up. You can find us on YouTube right now on my channel, Mitch Cavage Coaching, a Syndicate Talks Season 1 and Season 2 playlists are there. You can also check us out on syndicate.org. You'll be able to find us more of that content there. Stay safe, follow along. If you need help, reach out to myself. There are other great experts inside of Syndicate. We can help you organize this for yourself. Have a fantastic day. Be safe out there. Take care of each other and tell your story differently. It will make a difference. Have a fantastic day, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you so much.